My name is Monique Miles, and I work at the Aspen Institute, the Forum for Community Solutions. I want to kick us off today by saying welcome to our webinar. Today's topic is focused on summer youth employment. This welcome I am extending is on behalf of the Center for Law and Social Policy, also known as CLASP, JP Morgan Chase, and the Aspen Forum for Community Solutions, the Opportunity Youth Forum. We have worked across our three organizations and in partnership with all of today's speakers to curate the content that will be presented today. Thank you to Keisha Bird at CLASP, to Edgar and Linda at JP Morgan Chase, and to my colleagues at the Aspen Institute, including Mike and Yelena, for your leadership, partnership, and support. We will poll participants in a moment, but before doing so, it's worth noting the three networks that are presented on this webinar today, including the CCR-wide network, which stands for Communities Collaborating to Reconnect Youth. This network, convened by CLASP, includes 18 communities from across the country that are working across systems to reconnect young adults to education and employment. Another network on this call includes JP Morgan Chase's Markets of Priority, including many funders and community grantee partners from this network that have joined the call today. We also have participants from the Aspen Opportunity Youth Forum Network. This network, which I lead, supports 33 rural, urban, and tribal communities around the country to reconnect young adults to education and careers. Thank you again to all of our partners from around the country. We all know that summer jobs matter. Research demonstrates again and again that summer youth employment programs are associated with positive employment experiences, improved educational outcomes, and increased skill development. At the same time, young people share that income earned from summer youth employment opportunities provides helpful income and the connection to supportive adults, peers, and the community. Taken all together, these experiences create a valuable and meaningful opportunity for young adults in communities across the country. And as everyone on this webinar today knows, these experiences matter, and they are too critical to the development of our country's young adults to forego, even in the face of COVID-19. Given this urgency, the purpose of today's event is to create a space for cities, including community-based organizations from communities all around the country, to bring summer youth employment programs to fruition. Today's webinar is aimed at exchanging ideas that will offer value to the field. Today's webinar is designed to offer specific and tangible examples of the strategies, the tactics, the tools, the resources, and the solutions to many of the challenges communities are facing in their efforts to implement summer programming, including the integration of youth voice and designing both meaningful and rewarding work experiences. To ensure the content of today's webinar is both timely and relevant, we surveyed our networks. We learned that technology access among youth and technology capacity among providers is a priority topic. We also heard that other challenges programs are facing in their efforts to implement summer employment opportunities includes effective employer engagement, ensuring high quality in virtual programming, and also ensuring youth safety for in-person work experiences. Based on this feedback, we asked our presenters to address these topics along with other key themes while sharing both their adaptations and innovations related to summer youth employment. At the national level, we can't think of a more important topic for today's discussion. In addition to the relevancy of summer youth employment and skill attainment and economic support for young adults, we also know that how communities are coming together in the face of COVID-19 to continue to provide critical programming to the most vulnerable young adults is an important story to document. The stories today are about removing barriers and overcoming challenges, and at the same time, these are also stories of community resiliency, including how communities are both deepening their infrastructure and expanding their capacity to meet the needs of young adults. We want to document this critical work so that we can continue to support communities to deepen their resiliency, not only for the near term, but also for the long term, should any future challenges face our communities.
Thank you so much, Monique. First off, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to work with the Aspen and CLASP team. and seeing how diligently and passionately they work on behalf of youth all over the country. We at JP Morgan would like to give again a huge thank you to both teams for organizing this webinar and convening such a diverse group of individuals. Some of you may know JP Morgan Chase supports some youth employment programs in 20+ US cities, and we are proud to be in a community with all of you and create and continue to sustain summer opportunities for young people all over the country.
Thank you, Edgar, and thank you, Monique, for the introduction and the framing. It's been a pleasure to work with the Aspen team and JP Morgan Chase and Mike and Elena. And thank you all of you for joining us. We know this is a very important conversation that we are having for and with our young people around the country. So we wanted to make this as interactive as possible. So we're going to do a couple of polls to see how everyone is doing and feeling, and get some of your perspectives. So how you can join Poll Everywhere is you can go to the web and you go to pollev.com and you enter Youth Team 426 and you respond to the activity. And then I believe Mike can also put this in the chat function so that you can join. So we'll go right to the poll so everybody can get joining. Okay, so we know we had over 350 or so people registered and counting. So we're really happy to provide everyone with this opportunity, learning exchange. So, you know, tell us where you're calling from. And you, again, use in the chat function, you can see where you can use Poll Everywhere to do that. So again, you go to pollev.com and then you'll be able to do Youth Team, I believe it is Youth Team 426, and then you can use a dot to put where you're joining us from around the country. So let's see.
So Keisha, folks are coming in from all across the country. It's updating on the one screen, but not in the PowerPoint, but we have folks here from Maine to California and Hawaii, folks from all across the country. Wonderful diversity.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for including me as part of this great conversation. Oh, wow, the color is interesting. So what I will say, I'm really here to talk about Work Ready 2020. And Work Ready is the largest coordinated summer youth employment program in the city of Philadelphia. We serve approximately 8,000 young people every year in summer employment programs. And we do that through a network of nearly 80 different providers. And so Mike, you can go ahead and change into the next slide. And so, you know, we really are looking at, you know, what I'm going to quickly talk about is the concept of pivoting a system. For us, it was, you know, not even just about thinking about an individual program, but what does it take to actually pivot an entire system that's coordinated amongst multiple funders, direct service program operators, system stakeholders, as well as the youth and young people and employers that are connected to the program. And so for us, you know, we had to be pretty quick. You know, I think we looked at the first initial stay-at-home orders that were in the Philadelphia area that were 2 weeks and felt that we could recover pretty quickly from a 2-week lag. But the second that it got extended past that 2 weeks, we saw the writing on the wall that this wasn't going to be a quick recovery, and very quickly put into place, you know, hey, we're going to pivot. If we stop now, we're going to totally miss our window to be able to change. And so for us, it was really just embracing that adaptive thinking that was so critical for us to be able to move forward and get to an announcement from our mayor on May 5th. And so we pretty much did that all within 6 weeks of completely building, taking down a program and building back up. And really the way that we did that was through the coordination of partners. And that's the key role that PYN often plays within the larger system. And so we're bringing together those service delivery partners who we pretty quickly sent surveys out to. Are you still operating? Are you still open? Have your staff moved to virtual and digital settings? Are you talking to your young people? If so, how? just to get some information and data collection. We had to reach out to our funders. The value of the Work Ready Summer system is that it is a blended funding model. So we have upwards of, nearly half a dozen different funding streams that are all going into support summer employment. And so we had to reach out to all of our funders and really get them aligned on some of the ideas and negotiate, right? What were their priorities? What were our priorities? What were other funders' priorities? And how can we align those thinkings? We also reached out to employers pretty quickly, those that are both financially supporting our programming, but also that were operating as worksite hosts. And, for the most part, pretty collectively, a lot of our employers were not able to commit to any type of in-person experiences. And certainly were sharing with us that commitment would not occur anytime soon. And that really helped us make some swift decisions. As much as we'd love for in-person experiences, if you don't have physical places for young people to go, we recognized that we had to make those kind of decisions about how we're shifting to digital and online experiences, because we wouldn't have physical workplaces, even if stay-at-home orders were lifted. Also looking at system partners, what outside of the direct funders, who were the people that cared about summer employment and what were their goals. And then finally, the young people, what was going to be the best and most safe type of experience for those young people as we moved through.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shauna Hayward from Connect Detroit, and I'm honored to be able to represent all of the great work that's happening in Detroit around summer youth employment for 2020. So, we started with each summer we have a theme that we kind of embrace for the summer and run with our partners. And our theme, if you could go back one slide, Mike, our theme for 2020, we came up with in January was Ready, Set, Grow, kind of a nod to our program's name, which is Grow Detroit's Young Talent. And so what I can tell you is that between January, when we came up with this theme, and March, it took on an entirely new meaning for us and Detroit and our partners. So I've titled this kind of Grow Detroit's Young Talent Virtual Summer Shift. And by shift, I mean the reinvention of our entire program for the summer of 2020. So if you can go to the next slide. Connect Detroit is one of the implementation partners for the summer youth employment in the city of Detroit. We work in partnership with the mayor's office in the city and our workforce development entity in Detroit, which is Detroit Employment Solutions Corporation. And so our citywide goal for summer youth employment is to reach 8,000 young people between the ages of 14 and 24. Connect Detroit is responsible for serving 5,000 of those young people through our network of about 70 or so partners. And so partnership and collaboration is definitely one of the keys to how we approach everything, really. What I learned early on was there were two key factors that really supported us in being able to be successful in how we thought about this and approached this. One was when everything just started to go bonkers, was to really step back and ground ourselves in our core values and goals. Who are we and what are we really about accomplishing? And being committed to not straying away from that, even in light of a global pandemic crisis. The other thing that I found to be a really critical factor was an early decision to go virtual, just put a stake in the ground and saying, this is how we're going to approach summer 2020.
Thanks everyone for inviting us to participate in this exciting forum. So I don't think we have an official theme yet for the city of Boston, but my boss who may be on, Neil Sullivan, has kind of coined this the summer like no other. And I think that's kind of true for all of us this year as we move a lot of these experiences to remote. So what I thought I would do is just kind of start out with a brief overview of the city of Boston's program overall, and then describe how my organization, the Boston Private Industry Council, kind of fits into that. So overall, our citywide campaign, we offer paid jobs and internships with private sector employers and also with community-based organizations and nonprofits Many of those jobs are subsidized with public funding and also with private philanthropy as well. So the PICS component and the Private Industry Council, the PIC, is the city's workforce board, and we're also a school to career partner in Boston Public Schools. So we have staff that cover the 31 major high schools in Boston and prepare those students for school year and summer internships over the summer. And in our role, we organize a private sector component of the overall mayor's campaign. And then down below, I just listed some of the other major key partners, the intermediaries with the PIC in the summer program. And they include the city's Department of Youth Employment and Engagement, which typically will place 32 to 3,500 youth in jobs throughout the city that are subsidized. John Hancock is a private sector employer that works with the PIC that typically has students in-house, but then they also sponsor over 600 placements as part of a MLK Scholar program at CBOs throughout the city. And then Action for Boston Community Development provides another 800 or so jobs, and then Youth Options Unlimited, which is kind of targets court-involved youth and supports them to a job transitional employment program. So altogether, we aim for in our best years to kind of hit 10,000 work experiences throughout the summer collectively. And those experiences primarily are wage-based, because I know there's a lot of questions on that in the chat. In a typical summer, 25 to 30 hours per week, they pay minimum wage, which in Massachusetts is now $12.75 an hour. And many of those are going to be that same way this summer as well, although we do have some stipended programs as well. So what we've done in the past couple months now is the city has really led a planning process with all those intermediaries and partners that I showed on the last slide to kind of just think about how we can still have a very successful program this summer. And the mayor's really kind of led the charge with saying he wants as many opportunities for students to engage in constructive work and learning programming as possible. So he's really kind of set a high goal for us to achieve, but he's supported us with city staff and additional resources to make this work. So one of the first things we did, similar to I think what Philadelphia says, we surveyed CBOs and employers in April to learn about their hiring plans under different scenarios, so we could understand, okay, if on-site work would not be possible in July, can sites offer remote programming, and then what resources would they need? And certainly one of the key themes that came up in that was technology, both technology in terms of understanding how to do Zoom and Google Classroom and those platforms to support the experience, but also to make sure that students and the youth that they're serving would have Chromebooks or other laptops and tools so that they could connect and do work remotely. So one of the things we worked on with Boston Public Schools is to ensure that students can keep their Chromebooks over the summer so that they could use them for these experiences. And then this group has really been leading the development of virtual models and then also identifying new potential jobs to offset cutbacks in our private sector hiring. And what we expect to be some reductions, at least in camp counselor and daycare jobs, which are a large share of all the overall city jobs. And then we've been planning opportunities for specific youth groups, so younger youth, and then also finding jobs that potentially older youth can do. And the assumption is that a lot of this is moving to remote, but we do hope that some of this could be, some of the work could be outdoors and on-site as well. Delivering food, other things. I mean, every idea that we can think of, we'd say, can we turn this into a job and create an opportunity for students and youth? So that's kind of been the heart of this.
How are you doing? My name is Luki Forbes, and I am the Summer Youth Employment Administrative Assistant for the City of Albany. I also work as the office manager for the Youth Opportunity Office, and I also assist with youth engagement within the OSEA program. So I just wanted to basically thank everyone for joining us on this webinar and actually taking the time out just to learn and speak on the different things that we can do to basically help the youth through the Summer Youth Employment Program. So basically with our organization, we've been paying attention to how COVID has been affecting everything and everyone. And when I say that, I'm also referring to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. As we view those, we see that the statistics show that unemployment rates for ages of 16 to 19-year-olds have jumped from 14.3% to 31.9% within March and April, literally a month apart. And when we're paying attention to things like that, we're not only trying to gear our summer youth program to help employ these youth right now for the summertime, we're also trying to help them develop the skills so that they could again move forward into their career paths that they choose. So we're trying to also identify what COVID is doing to the future of jobs and really coming up with a plan so that we can engage our youth with the Summer Youth Employment Program and make sure that they're actually work ready once they actually leave our program. So what our program has added to our implications of our implemented into our changings is, one, we're going down to 4 weeks. We're normally a 5-week program, but we're going to cut it down 1 week just to make sure that we can definitely make sure that we have enough funds to pay all of our kids and things like that. And just because COVID has everyone rushing, we want to make sure that we have our program set and tight. Another thing that we're doing is we're actually training coaches on how to utilize Google Classroom and also troubleshoot those problems. And we're also teaching them how to utilize Zoom so that they can either troubleshoot it on Zoom. In necessary cases, we're also going to be sending coaches to people to show them how to utilize their phones or their laptops for Google Classroom and things like that. Also, I shared a bunch of links, which I can share again within the chats, to a bunch of things and tutorials that can teach you really how to utilize Google Classroom to its fullest. Google Classroom is a wonderful program where you're able to engage youth in multiple ways. There's one tutorial that can actually teach you how to make a Bitmoji slide, where you can actually make a slide with Bitmojis, and that's real interactive for kids, especially from 14 to 18. They really use Bitmojis a lot. You can use it just regular slides, or you can make an interactive one. There's even a tutorial that teaches you how to make speaking Bitmoji videos and things like that. You can use it to set up your schedules for your students. So when they click onto the Google Classrooms, they're actually confronted by your Bitmoji and things like that. That's a way to keep youth engaged. We literally just moved them from school online to working online, and we want to make sure that it's kind of new and it's always refreshing for them. Another thing that we're doing now is we're going to be doing a lot more, as everyone's been saying, a lot more job shadowing. So we're making more virtual internships because it's harder for us to really make sure that our students are safe, and as well as our workers and our partners, making sure that everyone is safe. We're just going to try to make sure that we keep everything virtual and make sure that we're training our youth again in the skills that we see are being utilized now more and will probably be utilized more in the future. We also have a COVID tracing training that we'll be doing for kids that are 18 and older. That's really helpful to them because they can actually get a job as COVID tracers once they receive their certificates. We're also doing a lot of metrics training for our youth, who can also receive a lot of valuable skills and soft skills there, and as well as certificates in those classes. And a few of the enrichments that we're incorporating is actually more coding and actually teaching kids how to utilize database softwares. So again, so that we can start identifying the jobs that people will be looking for and the things that people will be looking for more in the future.
Hi, my name is Lori Collier from Los Angeles, California, and thank you so much for having me here today. I wanted to talk a little bit about what Los Angeles is doing with summer youth employment. But first I wanted to start with explaining that the Los Angeles Opportunity Youth Collaborative is a collaborative with over 70 partners who are working together to build multi-sector partnerships to improve the education and employment outcomes of transition age foster youth so they can achieve their dreams. And the LA County Summer Youth Employment Program is actually a year-round program called Youth at Work. It serves about 20,000 youth across our 7 workforce development boards, with an $18 million investment from the County of Los Angeles, matched with an $18 million investment with the City of Los Angeles. Youth who participate in the summer program are often from foster care, juvenile justice, or live in low income or CalWORKs households. And the summer program is most often their only opportunity to gain work experience and earn wages. And with the pandemic hitting in March, we learned that about 30% of young adults between the ages of 20 and 24 in California have filed for unemployment. So in March, as we were in our safer at home order, we started to pivot our work to start to understand the immediate needs of what our young adults were facing. And the biggest one that emerged to the surface was that information that was being made available around public benefits was not being written towards a young adult audience. And we took the time to start sitting down and thinking about how to write youth voice fact sheets to make sure our young adults knew that they could access public benefits like unemployment and stimulus checks as the rules had changed. And we wanted to make sure that we educated young people on how to go through the myriad of steps to access those resources. And then as we were doing that, we started to move to some short-term organizing around what would summer youth employment look like this year, and what were the resources that would be needed to make sure youth could have that experience. One of the big ones that surfaced was access to technology, in addition to access just to food and basic needs. So we, at the same time all this is happening, we're thinking about how do we move our work readiness curriculum to an online experience. The 7 workforce boards here have one curriculum that they've been using that we developed in partnership with them. And we moved everything to Zoom and Google Classroom and started providing a lot of technical assistance to the 60+ access points to teach them how to use Zoom and Google Classroom, and to work with students to understand how to use those platforms. And interestingly, we just did a survey with the workforce centers, and we found that they have seen an increase or maintained level enrollments inside of their programs, which was surprising because we thought young people maybe wouldn't participate in programming, and we've actually seen that that wasn't the case at all, which has been some great news. And so from there, over the last month, we have been working in partnership with our city and county partners. In the mayor's office, Mayor Eric Garcetti has already committed $18 million in the city general funds to support as many youth as last year in summer youth employment for youth that live in with the City of Los Angeles. And currently, the collaborative partners are advocating to the County Board of Supervisors for a commitment of $18 million to support level funding going in for this next fiscal year, which starts on July 1st. This time has been very much a time of collaboration. We have come together, nonprofit intermediaries have been invited to conversations with both the city and county on how to adapt our work-based learning opportunities, including work experience for young people, and how we design those programs. We've been in a lot of discussions on virtual platforms that we could use in addition to Google and Zoom, Google Classroom and Zoom, and how do we create programming that's flexible enough to support youth based on their needs. LA is still under the safer at home guidance, and we're slowly starting to reopen currently. And what that is currently looking like for summer, we envision a program where youth could go to 80 hours to 100 hours of service, but really thinking about it in terms of like aging by age. So for youth 14 to 17, we're thinking that could be working at home with a facilitated class via Google and Zoom with some project-based learning work experience. For youth 16 to 18 without a high school diploma, we've been in a conversation with LAUSD, our largest school district, about how to do credit recovery paired with facilitated work readiness training. And then for youth that are 18 to 24 with a high school diploma that were interested, we tried to think about developing both on-site work experience and off-site work experience, depending on a young person's preference about going back out into public. So some of the things we've been talking about is How do we partner with Parks and Rec that will be opening up their summer programs? They're going to need more supervision this year than ever because as the ratios are coming down as we go back into public, how do we have young people go and work with Parks and Rec to make sure social distancing and safety protocols are being followed? Youth that aren't comfortable going out, how can we connect them to provide outreach and engagement to connect other youth to public institutions and community-based organization resources so they know all of the things that are available to them? And then the third point is how do we incorporate both educational and work-based learning projects together with work experience being that a group of young people could come up with community service projects that are in environmental justice or entrepreneurism and technology. And we're currently in the midst of kind of fleshing out what does all this mean in actual practice and application. And there's a good table of us that are coming together on a regular basis to really put down like, what does this design look like? The other piece I want to highlight is the digital divide here in Los Angeles is very real and we are experiencing it. Access to technology has been a huge push that has happened. The Opportunity Youth Collaborative partners with an organization called iFoster that's been working on technology access for both current and former foster youth over the last year. And they've been able to have an investment of $22 million from the public and private partners. So we can offer free smartphones with hotspots to all youth in foster care ages 13 to 26. And the pandemic has created a huge surge in demand. iFoster's distributed more than 6,000 mobile phones and more than 3,300 laptops. And there's currently discussions around moving that age down from 13 to 5 to 12 because the mobile phone with the hotspot is what a lot of foster youth and foster care kinship providers and families are using as hotspots because they may not have access to the internet. In addition, we're mindful that the summer youth employment program is a key investment that supports our workforce systems infrastructure. Another point we've been really advocating across our partners and to our county electeds is that the workforce system is going to have a surge of dislocated workers kind of come back to it, and our community-based organizations that are supported by public dollars, if the funding is cut for summer youth employment, that means a direct reduction in the case management staff at community-based organizations. So we're trying to make sure that funding stays flush. So as we start to go back to work, we want to make sure our youth that have been dislocated from employment can go back to work. The community-based organizations need to have budgets that are intact.
So many communities are doing right now on behalf of young people. And while we recognize that we were not able to feature all of the great work, one of the things we're deeply committed to and looking forward to doing is continuing to document and share all of these stories. We know that it's so important that in real time we lift up the great work that's happening so that communities are supported to work through challenges together across peers and across communities to support young people. So we don't have enough time to lift up all of the themes, but a few that are just at least worth noting here are first and foremost the importance of a system leader and the role of a system leader in being able to bring this type of programming together. So we heard different communities talk about the coordination and alignment that's necessary to bring systems, employers, youth, and funders together, including service providers. Another key theme we heard was adaptability. So whether it's technology, for communications to safety to converting from wages to incentives. We have heard a great different range and variety of ways that communities right now are adapting in real time. We also heard a great deal about culturally responsive programming. Specifically, we heard in Detroit thinking about trauma and healing and grief and socio-emotional learning practices. We also heard about designing for special needs. We recognize how important this is right now in real time. And then finally, we heard themes around innovations, everything from thinking about rethinking specific sectors like healthcare to storytelling projects and repurposing public health campaigns. We recognize how important it is to be able to do this work in real time. So we want to close with a call to action. And what we really hope you all can continue to think about, particularly if you're a practitioner, we hope you found today's content useful. We'll email We will email out the link to the recording of this webinar. And as Keisha mentioned, next week, the Aspen Forum for Community Solutions will release a 1.0 Digital Summer Youth Employment Toolkit based on a rapid scan of the adaptations, just like the ones that were discussed here today. They are designed to provide further resources to support how you will adapt your programs in real time. We look forward to sharing this tool with all of you and then working together in the weeks and months ahead to adapt the tool to ensure its relevancy, not only throughout the summer, but into the fall as communities consider virtual learning strategies at the secondary and post-secondary levels.